If you are considering purchasing a property in the Riviera Maya as a foreigner, there are several taxes and fees that you need to consider. Keep watching this video because we will explain you all the details. Hello investors and welcome to a new video. In this video we're gonna talk about like a real and interesting point about the taxes and fees, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And today I think you guys know this guy next to me, Daniel Marin. Daniel Marin is a real estate attorney in Riviera Maya. Danny, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I love being here. Thank you.
Danny is gonna help us to understand the taxes and fees that we need to pay, right, when we acquire a property in Riviera Maya. Because before to start with all this, I got this summary here with me. Before to start, have you or investors have told you what are exactly the fees and the taxes that they need to pay? Do you have that experience from previous clients?
Yeah, of course. It's one of the most asked questions. Like,
okay.
What do we need to pay as a buyer? And what I normally say is, explain about the closing cost, because the closing cost is, the breakdown of everything that as a buyer you have to contemplate, other than paying the property, of course.
Right.
All the expenses that you have to consider as a buyer.
Yeah, because now that Danny mentioned that, sometimes investors or clients think that you pay the price of the property, that's it.
No, yeah.
No, you have to consider all this part, which is like the next step when you acquire the property. So the first point that we got on this taxes that I study and put in a note is the acquisition tax. The acquisition tax, for if we translate that in Spanish, is the impuestos sobre adquisición de inmuebles. What is exactly this acquisition tax for the foreigners or for the investor that they wanted to acquire a property?
Yeah, so this acquisition tax is due whenever you close the property, and is a tax that is in our legislation, and it depends on the zone or the place that you're buying. And by this, I mean the municipality. So for example, in Playa del Carmen, or if you're buying in Tulum, or even in Cancun, there's different taxes to be, or different percentages. In Playa and Tulum, it's the same, 3%, but depends on the other parts of Quintana Roo, which is our state, what percentage you're gonna be paying. And this is due to our legislation. It's let's say the local IRS, government institution that has established a tax for the acquisition of a property, which is this percentage.
And as you said at the beginning, this closing cost includes those taxes. So I was looking at the information online, and it says like typically or around is 2 to 4% of the property value. Is that correct?
Yes. In Tulum it's 3%. In Playa del Carmen it's 3%. It was about 4 to 5 years ago that changed from 2 to 3.
Okay.
So now it's 3%, and it's, up to this date, it haven't changed. Maybe next year, we don't know, but it shouldn't change a lot. But still, this point, 3%. Yeah, that you have to contemplate.
This is just like an extra question. Do you know why that percentage can change? What it depends for this percentage to change?
Yeah, it changes due to our there's people changing our laws, government people, and this is due to many factors, increasement of population, inflation, it's different stuff, but it changes due to that, and normally it's considered every year. So every year they say like, so are we going to change it? And they do like a study, and they say no, we're staying like that.
Okay. So for now, like nowadays, the percentage in Playa del Carmen and Tulum is 3%. It might change every year. With all the information that Danny gave us. So that's the number one. The number two that we have here is the notary fees. The notary fees can range from 1 to 2%. Is that correct on the notary fees? When
yeah, more or less.
Okay.
Just to explain that notary fees, we handle it is that we contemplate notary fees in two ways. One, because at the end of the day, you pay all of this that we're saying, you pay it to the notary. Because the notary is the one that pays the taxes of the acquisition on your behalf, of the purchase of the property on your behalf.
Okay.
So the notary fees we in the closing cost, because remember that everything that we're saying here, it's in the closing cost.
Right.
That's what it contemplates, the closing cost. So the notary fees for, let's say, the work of the notary, we have we have a legislation that contemplates that, and we have depending on the purchase value, the range that the notary can charge. Okay. So it gives you more or less how much you can charge for the closing. For the work of the notary.
I see. And now, like when Danny's mentioned that percentage of like the value of the property, we were talking before to start the video, that there's also something important that sometimes people ask me or ask a realtor, like, why am I paying more if my property is with a lower price than somebody that got a property that is with a higher price? Yeah. Do you know how to explain that, how to calculate that part on, like, it depends on the value of the property?
Yeah, it all depends on the value, because remember the closing cost, normally it's around 7 to 9%, a little bit more sometimes.
Right.
It can go all the way to 10, but depending on, again, the purchase price, because there are some percentages. Now, here's the thing. If you're buying, let's say, $1 million, right?
Right.
And you're gonna be paying, let's say, 5%, right? So the 5% compared to $1 million, it's gonna be like a really small amount, right? Because you have like a purchase price really big.
Right.
Now, if you go the other way around, you're gonna be paying the same 5%, let's say, but $100,000. So that 5% is gonna represent more money whenever you say, okay, I'm paying just $100,000. You know, it's a lot of money whenever you see the $100,000. You know, like. It's kind of the perception depending on how much you're paying for the property.
I like it's the perception. Okay. So that's we are in the number 2 right now. We are coming for the next one, which is the number 3, and is the trust fees.
Yes.
Or also we have a video actually with Danny that you can click here and see how the trust works. And in this case, we're not gonna go all in details with the trust, but we wanted to explain that this is part of what we are paying on when we acquire the property, right? So what is the just to confirm, what is the price that we pay for the trust and fideicomiso?
The trust depends on many things, because depends on the bank, for example. And the banks, they have like a different prices.
Okay.
They have fixed fees. They don't change that. That's not a percentage. But it can go between $1,500 to $2,200, more or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
And every year you got this, I don't know if you can say that it's kind of like a membership or something. After the second year, you have to pay $500 to $700 to the bank or to the government?
To the bank.
Okay.
So this is how it works. The first time you pay that big amount, right? Let's say, for example, we work with a specific bank that it charges a little bit more than $2,100.
Okay.
All right. So that is a one-time fee only. And it's a one-time fee only because you're paying in that amount the acceptance of the bank having your trust, holding your trust.
Right.
Second, the permit from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that has a cost. And third, and this is the only one, this third concept is the only one that remains, that it's that membership that you're talking about, and is basically the first annual fee in advance. Okay. So basically that amount is already included,
right?
But you'll stay with that amount. It can go from 500 to 700 more or less.
Okay.
In this same bank that we're talking about, it's 450 plus VAT, which sums up to 522.
Okay.
And that amount you'll start paying it. You'll keep paying it every year in advance.
Okay.
To the bank.
To the bank.
Because they are holding your trust.
And in that part, when somebody like a foreigner wanted to buy a property in Mexico, sometimes they ask me like, but I'm not the owner. The bank is the owner. How do you explain that the property belongs to the foreigner, to the client, but the bank is helping you to acquire the property, right?
Yeah, it's a really really complex definition.
Okay.
It's actually not the property is not on the bank's ownership.
Exactly.
It's exactly just the vehicle it's helping him out or her out.
Okay.
So this is how it works. So basically, the trust is a contract that it's separate from the buyer and from the bank.
Okay.
And you do a contract with the bank saying, hey, listen, I need you because the legislation says that to hold this contract for me.
Okay.
Because I'm going to put a property into that contract and I'm going to be the full beneficiary of everything that I put, in this case, the property, in this contract.
Okay.
Right? So I'm the full beneficiary. As a buyer, you're the full beneficiary of the, let's say, rents, gains, occupancy.
Right.
Everything that you do with that property, you're the beneficiary of that.
Okay.
So if you sell it, you just have to let the bank know because you have a contract with them.
Right.
But you don't have to pay them nothing other than the 522 that we already talked about.
Right.
But you don't have to pay them, a gain, a percentage. That's not. You don't put money into the trust, or you don't give money to the bank. Again, other than the 522 of the annual fee. Other than that,
right.
you don't pay them nothing. They don't have any ownership or they cannot just take the property away, because that's normally what the clients are afraid of.
Right.
Like, hey, listen, so the bank can take. No, it's not as simple as that, and it's basically impossible just to take that. So,
right.
But you're the full beneficiary. It doesn't come out. The title doesn't come out fully on your name, because again, you have the trust and you have the trustee bank involved, right?
Okay.
But you're the full beneficiary of the trust. So basically, you have all the rights of it. It's a little bit complex, but for sure, it's a really legal, secure method or legal way to acquire the property.
Right, and we always tell my clients that if you really are interested to buy a property in Mexico, but like more on, like in restricted zones, you hire or find like a real estate attorney or real estate advisor that they can help you out with all that information, because yesterday I had a phone call with a client and he was saying to me, I like that property, that villa in Tulum, but I think it's a timeshare. How can I make sure that this is not a timeshare? And all that information that we are getting right now with Danny, it can like just clarify something about how the real estate works in a specific area in Riviera Maya, because it's not. I was checking. Just let me know if I'm right. When you buy a property in the center of Mexico, you don't need that type of trust. That fideicomiso is totally different, because this is a restricted zone that we explained in the other video, but it's quite different. The fideicomiso here in the center of Mexico, right?
Yes, yes, because our trust is due to our boundaries. So 50 kilometers from the coast and 100 kilometers from the borders.
Okay. Now, I got another one, which is the number 4, and it's the registration fees. The registration is register the property in the public registry office. That percentage that I got here is 1 to 2% the property value, correct?
Yes. Okay. I mean, that registration fee includes many other stuff, but it can conclude to 1 to 2%.
Okay.
So basically, that goes into taxes. And that's kind of the expenses. It's in the taxes that you have to pay to the notary, and the notary pays it on your behalf, because the notary is the one that actually gets your deed recorded in the public registry.
Perfect. Okay, that one was kind of fast. The number 5 is appraisal and survey fees. These are generally required to ensure the correct market value and verify properties boundaries, typically costing around 500 to 1,000 USD. To be honest with me, that one, appraisal and survey fees, is not really clear. Okay. How can I explain that to, or how the client can understand that part?
Of course. So the appraisal is one of the requirements in our legislation to get the closing done. Okay. But the appraisal can only be done by an appraiser.
Okay.
And so this is the fee that you actually also pay that to the notary, because the notary is the one that have this kind of contacts with the appraisers, and they do that payment on your behalf.
Okay.
Okay, so this document that it's the appraisal has to be delivered to the notary in order to the notary can issue the title of the property, right? And we can get to the closing.
Nice. Okay, perfect. Number 6.
Yes.
Legal fees, and that is very important. for Danny in the way that is important, because we always suggest to hire a real estate attorney if you're buying a property in restricted zones in Riviera Maya. And in this case, Danny, the legal fees, what is I don't want you to explain all what you do, because it would be better if somebody needs your if they need you, just put on the comment and we can contact you with Danny. But the fee that you guys charge as an attorney, it would go from 1,500 to 2,200 roughly. Is that the amount that?
Yeah,
is
more or
on the
less.
market?
Yeah,
Okay.
around, yeah. So basically, this is another expense different from taxes, different
Right.
from notary, and different from trust.
Yeah.
So it's also included in the closing cost. You know, it's one of the expenses included in the closing cost, but it's different from, again, the notary, the trust. It's different from that, and the taxes. So the legal fees are for the, you know, there's the legal services, right?
Yeah.
And in our case, we include a lot of stuff in our legal services, like due diligence, the contract, the closing, the trust, and everything. And we have a fixed fee in our situation. First of all, yes, definitely recommend it that your clients or any clients or anyone that is looking at this, watching this video, that hires an attorney. Okay,
Right.
For sure.
Right.
If it's not us, perfectly us. But if it's not us, we have a fixed fee.
Right.
And it's a little bit more than $2,100, and it's a fixed fee. It's not a percentage. It doesn't change in case of it's a higher amount in the purchase price or something. It doesn't change that. It's a fixed fee. Either you're buying 100,000 or $1 million. We have a fixed fee because we're doing the same job.
And right now, another question comes to my head because normally here in Riviera Maya you got like resale properties. That is quite normal worldwide, but also we do pre-sale properties, right?
Right.
And in that scenario, I wanted just to mention that in the scenario of pre-sale is very important for us. Like the main core is the legal part of the project. Danny can help you to check the legal documents and the contract. But when you do this, you pay the fees for the attorney.
Right.
If you don't move forward with the
Right.
property, it's not refundable. It's for your own good to find a real estate attorney. Of course, us as a real estate advisors, we do a previous due diligence, and with the attorney, you can double check everything, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yes, that's basically all we do. Just to add a little bit more into the closing cost,
Right.
that now that you're coming in. So whenever it's a resale, because in pre-sale it's not needed,
Okay.
but whenever it's a resale, another expense that they have to consider,
Okay.
it's the escrow. Because whenever you're buying a resale, you can actually set up an escrow. It's recommendation. It doesn't have to be like that, but for your peace of mind, for a buyer's peace of mind, it's a good advice to set up an escrow.
Right.
The escrow accounts go between $700 more or less, $700 up to $1,500 more or less.
Right.
And they cover like the full transaction. Like they gather all the funds, and whenever we close, then they disperse.
Question.
Yes.
What would be the worst case scenario? It's just a recommendation, the escrow. But have you heard or have you had an experience that somebody didn't hire or didn't get the escrow and something happened with this? I'm asking because it sounds super safe to get an escrow, because
it's super safe.
You are giving money to somebody that you don't really know. You like the property, but you don't know the other person on the other side, right?
Yes, of course, definitely. Okay. Yes. And it's a legal security for both parties,
right.
like, because the seller also gets, they have they acknowledge that the funds are in a bank account, that it's not the buyers.
Right.
They actually know that the funds are there, and they can start getting all the diligence done regarding closing documents, regarding, maintenance of the property, just to, transfer it to the buyer and all that. And just not like waste money and time with someone that maybe he or she didn't have the money for the purchase price, So it's a legal security for them as well, that they're gonna be having the money somewhere else, that it's not the buyer's account.
Okay.
The money's there, and that once they sign the deed, once we close, then they'll receive the funds.
Nice.
So it's legal security for both parties. And just to answer your question, to be really honest with you, 98% of the times we set up escrow accounts.
Okay.
And the remaining 2% we've done it, but it hasn't come up with something. You know, it was like a really close operation between not my family members, but family members of the seller and the broker. So we didn't have any trouble. But definitely, I wouldn't recommend to move forward with a resale without an escrow account.
Nice. It's for your own good, for the peace of mind, and
Yes.
good. Okay.
Yes.
We are almost there, Danny.
Yes.
We got another point, which is the property tax.
Yes.
Property tax here in Mexico is, I would say, is too low. It's like 0.1% of the property's asset value. What does exactly that mean? Because when people come from America or Canada or another country, the property tax is huge, it's massive, and they come here is like, why is too low?
Yeah.
How it happened with this?
Yeah. So the property tax. Well, first of all, the property tax is not including the closing costs.
Okay. Good.
So the property tax, it's in charge of the seller. Once you get possession of the property, then it's yours.
Okay.
So
Okay, yeah.
after getting possession, you start paying property tax. Before that, you don't have to pay that, because it's the seller's. It's on the seller's side to be in charge of that.
Okay.
To deliver the property with everything paid, everything in order, then deliver the property.
Right.
Even if it's a resale.
Okay.
So the property tax is not including the closing costs. You don't have to worry about that. You start worrying about it once you receive the property. And the property tax, how it works is like this. So the asset value, it can be translated to the cadastral value.
Okay.
So the cadastral value is the value that the government gives to your property. And this value is determined depending on the zone, the improvements of the zone. If you got electricity, you got, like public electricity, like lamps, and if you got a street, and like many things.
Right.
And your zone is growing, like you got something near it and stuff.
Okay.
So that's how, and also the amount of land that you have, the construction, how good the construction is, and blah, 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 blah. So many specifications. That's how the government establishes your cadastral value or your asset value.
Okay.
So from there, that's how you get your property tax.
Okay.
Now, the cadastral value is normally lower than the purchase price.
Right.
And because one of the things that the cadastral value doesn't basically have as a consideration or in the list of things that have to consider is the market. Basically, so it's basically about the property itself, not the market. So that's why the cadastral value is lower than the purchase price.
Nice. Okay. Okay. So, it's a lot of information, and I think we're gonna do like a little summary just to check all this information about the taxes and fees that we did. So the first one is acquisition tax.
Yeah.
Number 2, notary fees.
Yes.
Fideicomiso or trust. Registration fees.
Yes.
Appraisal and survey fees.
Yes.
Legal fees and property tax. The last 2, that doesn't belong to the closing cost.
The legal fees, yes. The property tax, no.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so with all these taxes and fees that you need to consider in order to acquire a property in Riviera Maya, we got like an estimate total percentage.
Right.
That would be low estimate is from 5 to 6%.
Yeah, more or less.
High, the worst case scenario, if I can put it this way, is 10 to 11.5%. But sometimes we are right there in the middle when we do those transactions or those closing costs with Danny or with another attorney. But in that case, just to guys to be aware that those percentage, all those fees, they have to be done. You cannot acquire a property and just leave it like that, because the property doesn't gonna belong to you. You cannot go or move forward, right?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yes, the closing cost is taxes, notary fees, trust, and legal fees.
Okay.
If you can take one away, because taxes are taxes, you have to pay them.
Right.
There's no way to avoid that. And just to be clear, the closing cost. Without the trust, but I'm talking about the taxes itself. It doesn't matter if you're Mexican or if you're a foreigner, you pay the taxes.
Right.
Same taxes.
Right.
Because it's an acquisition. It's due to the acquisition, not to the quality of the nationality or something.
Okay.
It's taxes, so you have to pay this. So notary fees and taxes, you pay yes or yes. The one that changes, of course, is the trust, because Mexicans, we don't need the trust,
Exactly.
but foreigners, they need a trust. And the legal fees, well, it depends on what attorney that you're choosing.
Okay.
But basically, you need this closing cost for the acquisition. You know,
Yeah.
like for the purchase, for the approval process, you need all these closing costs. That yes, all these closing costs, it's around, let's say 5 to 10, 11%,
Roughly.
more or less. And but one good thing is that you don't pay that 5 to 11% in advance. So you don't pay right away.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay through the process. For example,
Right.
The trust, depending if you're buying pre-sale or resale, you pay through the process.
Okay.
The trust will be due whenever we set up the trust. Like whenever the property is ready to sell. To deliver and
deliver, yeah.
Legal delivery.
Right.
Physical delivery, legal delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And also, for example, that's when you pay the trust. The closing cost regarding the notary fees and taxes, you paid it like 1 or 2 days prior to the closing.
Okay.
The legal fees, for example, in our case, we divide our fee. We divide it in 50% at the right beginning, whenever we start the process,
Okay.
and 50% at the end.
Okay.
Like it's in different times, so you don't have to actually contemplate this 5 to 10% right away. You contemplate this expenses throughout the process. Yes, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. From my side, I think that's it. I don't know if there's something else that we need to add, that you wanted to add to the video, that the investors need to know about the legal part, something that you want to add.
No, I think it's useful information, and we can also, if they contact you, we can also set up, like a specific breakdown, so you can see
Right.
every concept, every amount, everything. You can contact Osvaldo, and we'll set up an estimation. Depending on how much you want to pay for the purchase price, we can do an estimation, so you can have a clear view of what are the
Right.
concepts, how much, and everything. So you can have you can have it in mind whenever you
Right.
decide to purchase your
So
property.
the clients can make the numbers. And thank you so much for watching this video. I would like to know that the investors or the people that they're gonna watch this video to leave a comment of if they have had any type of situation with the trust, with everything. What is the experiences that they might
course.
have? Any different question that you have, or you heard, or you saw on this video, and it's like, it's not really clear to us. We would like to leave it in a comment in the description, and also subscribe to the channel, because the more subscribers, the more content we can do for you guys as investors, and also people that like the real estate and the Riviera Maya. So Danny, thanks so much.
My
for your
pleasure.
time. Thank you guys.
Bye bye.